Hey, hi everyone. So last time we were covering the if statement, and so we were discussing about the way that you can identify blocks within your codes. So today we're going to discuss about the if else, okay, but last time we were mainly stopping in here in the if statement. And we said that the idea of identifying these blocks, like if I give you a code, and I ask you to just show me the different blocks or highlight them. The idea is based on the indentation level, like I said, okay? So for example, you can have nested like if statement, like the structure, for example. And if we have Troy's home is like this variable equal to true, so I'm just doing one condition instead of two. I'm not doing and or the or anything inside the condition. I'm just doing if Troy home, then I am having all these indentation indented inside of this all like if statement. And this is how you are figuring out from this structure that this is a following block. So the same way, probably I have my code organized. And so from the top level, so it shows you, and this is how you clearly can understand that even for else, we have this concept of tension and so this is what we'll cover today. But before moving to the else example, I am going just to show you a flow chart for the if statement, because what we'll do next for the else is something quite uh, different, okay? It's not different, but there is some plus things that we will discuss. So now from this chart, we'll see that it start here, ending here. And from here, we have a question to answer. Is the name Alice? Oh, yes or no? So it could be true, it could be false. If name Alice, then is equal to true means that we are going to print hi Alice, okay? And then we are going, this is the end. If false, then there will be no print, nothing, and we are at the end point, okay? So keep this in mind, it's just a summary of the if statement. Now we are moving to the else statement, which is mainly coming after the if statement, okay? So it's kind of a combination, but it's not always required. So sometimes, like we seen in the start, you only see the if statement, you do not see the else, okay? So the else is quite similar for in terms of code, for example, you might need to have this column after the else, the same way we had it after the if. And so it executes when the if statement condition is not true. So in case we are not going to execute this block, this is not true. So we are going straight to move this one. Okay, it's kind of your plan B. And now we are going to cover this example. So if the condition in my if statement is false, I can do something different, okay? And so it also requires a column, as we like mentioning, after the else, in the same way here for the if and here for the else. And so then we are going to execute the condition within the if statement if only it's true. Otherwise, we're just going to skip it. We're going to jump into the else, okay? And let's go to Python, still with the example of Troy and Abbott with the morning show. And so let's try to run some code. Okay, this one, I'm not keeping any errors for you in the future. So just trying probably to keep like this block. So you see how we are understanding different blocks. Only it's kind of a way of writing your code that shows like the different the different blocks or the different elements of your code, okay? So now we have our example. It's mainly with the Troy and Abbott again. So we have Troy again available. is equal to true for Avid available. Also, we are going to initialize as true, and what we are going to do so far is no, we're going to try to test if like Troy available and Avid available, both available. So it's better, like I mentioned last time, to use parentheses just to put your condition there. For me, I believe that it makes it more clear. Doesn't mean that without parentheses it makes any errors, not at all. Okay, so in this case, we are going to print, I would say, different message, which is like we said last time, it was that the morning show is there. Okay, there will be a morning show. So both of them are in the morning. Okay, that's cool. No, you see, automatically it's jumping to the next line within the same block. Now I don't want that block anymore. If this is not true, I will do something else. This is why here we have the else statement, and don't forget that colon after the, like this, okay, after the else statement. And if I press enter, it will automatically take me to the block of like that else statement, which means in case the first block, the if like statement is not valid and that block is false, I mean, and that block is not going to execute, we are jumping to this one. In case we are jumping now, probably we're going to print a different message, maybe that there is no show morning show. Okay, so fine. Okay, I think that we are good. Now let's try to execute all this. Mhm. Mm, Before running, just let's add a third message, and let's say print that, okay, this idea is clear and we got it, okay? We got it. This if else like idea. So now just let me explain the code first again. So what we can see here is two blocks, and we have two print messages that are within the first block. We have the first print message, and it only prints if the condition within the if is true, okay? If the condition that we have here for the if is false, then we are going to execute the second block, then we will be executing or having the second print, and like this. So we are skipping this one, okay? In both cases, this one is going to show there, okay? Why? Because of the reason, let's say, is what we call the indentation level, okay? That tab. And by the way, this, as I'm mentioning, this indentation we add with the tab, we press like in the keyword, there is the tab button, okay? We press on that for like indentation. To add a new indentation level, let's say, if I'm pressing twice, there is, I would say, new level, because we can have an if within that, if it can, okay, for example. But let's not complicate life now. And if I want now to do what we call an indent, I want to indent this. I can click at the same time on the shift and tab, okay? If I click only on tab, there is like indentation. If I click together, you can try this in your keyword, the tab and shift together, then it's like going just to remove that space, okay? So now we can run things. Okay, so we have true, and this one is true, so it makes sense that we will see this message. And Troy and Abbott is in the morning show, okay? And so this one is not executed because this one is not false. If this one was false, we'll see this one, okay? So if we change this one to false, we are going to run. So we see that no morning show, okay? And in both cases, we have this like message, we got it because it's clear. And I hope that you guys got it. And always, in case you don't understand anything, you are always most welcome, okay? Let's go back to our slide. So mainly we're covering this code, part of the code. Okay, next what we have the flow chart, okay? I started with the only if flow chart. Now I'm showing you the if-else flow chart. So what I have in here, so in this flow chart, I have, it's corresponding to this code. So if name is equal to Alice, for sure, we have the start, the end, and the question or the if clause is only with this diamond, okay? And otherwise, these are kind of things I'm going to do action, okay? So name is equal to Alice, could be true, could be false. If is true, so within the if statement, we're going to print hi Alice, okay? And that's it. We have just and. If now is not true, then we are in the case when the name is something else than Alice, so it's false, okay? The name is Alice is evaluated giving the result false. So we are in the else statement. So in the else statement, what we are going to do, we are going to print hello stranger, and that's it, okay? So this is the idea of branching. So mainly we have this is a branch, and this is a different branch, and which corresponds mainly to the if-else statement, okay? And then, so in both cases, or I would say in either way, regardless of which method that you print, then you are going to end the program, okay? So mainly this is the concept, and let's like say I have more conditions. Let's suppose that we have more conditions that I want to evaluate, not just like one if and then I have one statement, okay? So for example, let's say you are the user and you input like a grade, okay? And what is the grade? I'm going to tell you the letter that corresponds to your grade, okay? So you know that if we're having grades out of 100, that translates to letters like A or B, or I don't know, want to talk on C, D, and all that, okay? But let's say A and B, for example. So, like exactly, I'm mentioning that in the syllabus for you. So I will pull like that because I feel that's helpful. So we have that very well detailed, and I'm also going to mention this probably in the lab. I'm going to share with you after this like recordings. So in the lab, what we will have is going to be kind of an exercise about the translation between the numbers that you have to the final grade in terms of letters. Okay, so let's say I want to to write this script that does exactly what I was explaining. So it's going to give you, for example, your final grade is, I would say, between 60 and 64. Then it's going to put for you as a result 1.7, okay? Or if your grade is, for example, between 90 and 94, then the result is giving to you A, for example, A minus, I would say. So I can write an if statement with what we call the elif in this case. So for each like one, I am going to give what is your exact like grade in terms of alphabet. this. Okay, there. So for example, the first one, I'm going if beyond, for example, 95 or above, then you can do something which is get a grade A. Elif, for example, I would also like give the different condition, okay, and then I probably let's say grade B and C and so on, okay. So this is the idea, and this is what we are going to. This is also a hint because I'm kind of helping you do your own lab. You're supposed to do yourself, and so I wish you don't find any problems in that lab. You are going to change like float instead of int, and it's good demonstration also if the of the elif or the else as well, okay, within the if statement or the elif statement, else statement, and all that. So if you guys want, I will start doing or helping you with that example. Okay, so all this I'm having. I'm saving it a comparison.py. I will be sharing that with you. And let me create a new, let's save this first. Okay, create a new one, Python file. And probably I'm going to call it lab2. And it's not lab2 solution, by the way, just as a template, because just a hint, just a little help from my side, but it's your job to do your labs, okay? So what's going to be about? So maybe this is a summary of the lab. First step is that you are going, or the app's going to, script's going to ask, the user, where is the command? Yep, okay. So we're going to ask the user to enter an integer between, let's say it was 0, 100. This is the maximum grade that you can get. And then I'm going to save, I would say, the user input into some, I would say, variable. So these actually are two different points that you're going to have in your lab. I'm going to combine them probably in one. So I will have your grade, okay? And it's going to be a type, I'm forcing that it's going to be a float. And so mainly for the result means of the input function is going to be a float of that input function, and what we are going to have in the input function. So a message for the user, let's say, enter your grade, which is a number between 0 and 100. So we try to be probably specific. So that the user don't enter 200 or something. Okay, so try and remember between, and for sure we suppose that the user respects what we are telling him. Okay, so what we will do here, these like first like requirements now, let's say they are done, and what we will have then in the next step in the lab, so we are going to use the corresponding letter grade or and the GPA together. So what we will have, this grade is always this plus. Whenever I want to write plus, it's equal. Okay, and the position. So what we will do is that we are going to start with the if statement, and we have the grade is, I would say, greater than or equal to, let's say, 95. Okay. Then in this case, so what we have, print it's going to give you a probably with the This is a in case like A minus in case in GPA it's going to be like oh, okay. So this is for the if statement. Now we know like that the grade here it's also going to be less than 95 sure in the other case. So what we want to do, we have many other possibilities, not only one to use the else. So there are like the B, like the A minus, and uh, after the B plus, B, B minus, and so on. So I think then what we'll use is the elif, and we are going to consider cases, for example, where the grade more than, I would say, greater or equal to 90, okay? And in this case, what we have, it's print, still we are in the A, I would say, maybe the A plus. I'm just trying to give you the example. You have all the details about this lab in like, in your guide, okay? Always there is a guide and it tells you what steps you have to do. And this is just a template. So here you will have your elif and you just keep writing your code, okay? So you will be having that much elif and then at the end you will end up with an else, okay? So this is mainly the template. Don't forget to after writing your condition, there is that point, so don't forget this is why it's like highlighting in red. So mainly this is just a little help. I'm going also to share with you lab to template. And I think that mainly so this is the another example. So that's the elif statement mainly. So we have the name is Alice, then okay, sprinting hi Alice. In case false, and it's not like we're going to jump to the end, there is still other cases that we need to consider. Okay, so here it's like elif, and we have another question: is the age less than 12? Here also, it will go within a different block or branch here to mention, for example, you're not heiress, for example, kiddo. And in both cases, for sure, there is an and. So this is another example. And so we have this like sort of chart. In this one, it goes through the name, okay? And keep checking the age, okay? So let's say that the name is Carol and age is 3000, okay? So in the start, if name is Alice, so what will happen? Print hi Alice. Okay, then what we have, is it else? It's not else, okay? So it's not and as well. So it's elif. So we have elif age is less than 12. Then there is this branch, and then we live from there. Elif, there is this, and then we live from there, and so on, okay? So this is the idea of the elif statement. Now let me just show you some common errors before finishing this video. The order again, it matters. So you need to be very careful about your order, especially that in lab 2 you have your exact order. So you need to follow that and make sure that you start. For me, I tried with some random like here I'm not sure what is. You need to follow the exact order. You need to follow the exact like specification mentioned in the lab or the guide, okay? And otherwise, so mainly this is one of the um, errors. Also, probably you need to pay attention to that. You need to make sure about the column. Don't forget that. Make sure that also whether if you are using the elif for the if for the else as well, that you are always having the same and dentation level, which means I would say doesn't mean like for this one I have one tab, for example, I come here and I just put more tabs. Or imagine you try to click with the space, So here, believe me, it will make an error for you. Just you think you made some space, but there is some error, okay? So make sure that you use your tab, you make sure that you use exactly the same number, and so you will not have any problems. And now when in case that the condition is true, only the block within that condition is executed. Other elif, even they are 1000, no one is going to care about that. This is why we say that it's not going to execute the code as sequential. There could be a jump from time to time. And forgetting to include an else block if all conditions are false, also this can make a problem, because what to do then? You make sure if for example all of them could be false, then we need to make sure about the last part, which is if like a statement. Okay, so mainly that's it, and so probably I'll give you some time to work on your lab, and like there will be some homeworks and assignments later, and I think we are doing good. Okay, good luck.